It says that we're live. I don't see anything. I don't see anything updating on YouTube. I'm on my channel right now on my laptop. Let me refresh. Okay, I see this on. If you can hear me, can you tell me in the chat that you can hear me? I want to make sure that um, you can hear me talking before we get down through this stream and then find out that my stream doesn't have any audio. Hey, Courtney, can you hear me talking? I want to make sure that the audio is working correctly. Make sure I have everything set up correctly before I get started. Awesome, that's awesome. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Cassie, and today I have two people with me. It's going to be Tara, also known as Tranny versus the World, and moderating today is going to be Becky, and she's not going to be here to do anything but make sure that we don't get derailed on our conversations and to make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak and we're not talking over each other. So, right now, alrighty. So do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Tara?
Oh, hello. I am Tara J. I am Training versus the World. I'm the one who went viral back in March of 2023 with a video or a couple of videos um, where I was defending a trans woman that I didn't even know on TikTok. And little did I know that standing up for my community would get me so much hate and death threats and everything. So um, that's where I am today.
Alrighty, awesome. And let me see if I, oops, there we go. I'm gonna remove you a little bit, Becky, sorry. Um, like I said, this is my first time using this before, so forgive me if I'm trying to figure out how to do all this lovely stuff. See if I add you to stage. There we go. That's more like it. Alrighty. So, first, I want to talk about you are a trans woman, and let's go back in your past. So, I'm curious. When did you first find out or recognize that you were trans? I'm just curious.
It was when I was 6 or 7 years old. I was born in 1982, so
Mm-hmm.
this was way before computers and the internet and um, the so-called influence, the right and the conservatives like to say.
Okay.
Um, so I knew I was a real live trans child, but I had to grow up and pretend to be a boy and pretend to be a man until finally the answers came out um, through medical professionals and stuff like that.
Okay. And for you, what was it that made you realize that you were trans? Like, what it for you? What did it feel like? I know what it felt for me. If you want me to go first, but what did it feel like for you? Like, how did you know?
Well, honestly, it was when I was going through supply at USNSCC for my squadron at the time was Prairie Schooner Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was going through supply and I noticed that there were the female whites that I was passing by, and I was looking at those, and I was thinking to myself, well, I shouldn't I be wearing these versus the male whites
Okay.
and the male blues?
Okay.
And it really stuck to me, like, this is wrong. I'm wearing the wrong uniform here,
Mm-hmm.
dress uniform and whatnot. So I believe it was when I was 13 when I enlisted.
Okay. When did you start transitioning? How long ago did you start transitioning? I'm curious.
Late 20s, early 30s.
Late 20s, early 30s. And how many years ago was that? Just like what year? What year? Ballpark?
Mm, let's see. I was
For those of
We're
us
in
who are not the best at
2024,
math.
so 20 years. So it'd be around 2002, 2003.
Okay. And were you transition the entire time, or did you transition or anything like that, or
I started socially.
socially? Okay. And you've been going by Terror ever since then?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It was a quick decision. I wanted to keep my initials
Mm-hmm.
because I still write checks.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
I write in cursive, and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
keep my initials. So I decided that Tara J would be perfect, and so far it fits because my best friend calls me Tara J all the time, and it's like it's like butter,
Okay.
you know.
All right. So now we got that out of the way. We got to know you a little bit about your past. What you're well known for are your viral videos on TikTok. And I am curious about what got you to make those viral videos in the first place. Like, what made you go, hey, I need to say this and put this on TikTok?
Well, the first one was when I noticed that there was a blatant death threat to another trans femme on TikTok, and it said 22 LR to the forehead. And for those of
Mm-hmm.
you who don't know what that means 22 long rifle to the forehead. Um, that pissed me off. I had just gone through the most painful surgery of my life to save my life, and I was in a lot of pain, and my tolerance level was in the negatives.
Okay.
I was not going to put up with people threatening my community online, over the internet, through anonymity. Um, as you all know, there's a lot of internet tough guys out there that are saying, you know, if I ever find you going into a bathroom with my wife or my daughter, you
Mm-hmm.
won't walk out. Well, I love to answer those comments with, you know, you won't do jack shit.
Mm-hmm.
And the arm up video was to get my community off of their lazy asses
Mm-hmm.
and to forget about this whole I hate guns thing and get one and learn how to use it, because we're dying out there. And so are cis women. We're dying.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to do your due diligence and protect yourself.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious, do you believe that addressing violence with violence is the best, like best thing to do, or do you think there's a better way to do it? Now that you have time to look back and like how people responded to you and the outlook and how people all over the world responded to you, you still
Hmm.
have the same outlook that what you did was the best thing?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to throw puppies and kittens at someone who's threatening me. And
Yeah.
I sure as hell am not going to turn the other cheek when someone is blatantly threatening me or bullying me online or bullying my community online.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I do believe that answering violence with violence is the right answer.
Okay. I'm more in the camp of disagreeing with this one, but why do you think violence versus violence is the best way rather than just letting all of the heat like just go away? Because I feel like whenever someone goes out and puts themselves out there on TikTok and actually says you need to arm up, people are going to take it as us being the aggressors, even though that might not be like your intent, and then people are going to use it as ammo like against us and try to like frame us as to be like a bad group, an aggressive group of people. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been doing that. We've been
Hmm.
answering all of these death threats and bullying threats with kindness all these years. And look at what it's got us now. Nothing. More of us being killed, more of us being having a target on our backs. The entire presidential campaign was about us. So, you know, I believe that my community needs to take their heads out of the sand or pull their heads out of their asses
Hmm.
and do their due diligence and learn either how to defend themselves or go out and buy a gun. It's their right.
I can't stand behind this. Everyone go buy a gun. Yes, I know it's a Second Amendment right, and I don't want to advocate for violence. But I do remember I actually transitioned 11 years ago, and I remember for the first 5 years of my transition, even 6 or 7 maybe, no one really cared about us. Like no one ever posted stuff on the line all the time. We weren't politicized, And what I've really noticed in the last like 4 or 5 years is that now, because we are trying to be so vocal and appear like to shove it in like people's faces, that now everyone puts the target on our back. So I wonder like how much of this is actually our fault rather than them just trying to hate on us. Oh, what are your thoughts on that?
What are my thoughts on that?
Because I like, if you think about it, in the past, trans women, just trans people in general, just wanted to assimilate, blend in, and not stand out. But now that our community is advocating for people to just self-identify, some people are so bold or brazen to go into restrooms or and feel like they can do it with like the beard showing or trying to like normalize the bulge. I know it's a very minute percentage of the trans community, but this is what gets the spotlight. And then we have people in our community that do this. We have people in our community that go around and defend these people. So I feel like this has more of a negative impact on us rather than us people just like hating us. People are going to hate us until the end of time. That's never going to end. And I feel like if whenever we start getting aggressive and start trying to tell people, hey, we need to arm up, we need to go after these, we need to fight, get ready, essentially get ready for like a revolution. That's when things get out of hand. What are your thoughts?
Well, you asked quite a few
Hmm.
questions there, so
Yeah.
let's start with the self-identification
Hmm.
and where I stand on that. I definitely did not self-identify.
Hmm.
I just knew that there was something different about me, something wrong about me, and I went through the proper channels and um, found out.
For those of
Um,
you who don't know what proper channels are, can you like elaborate a little bit more? Not everyone is so savvy with what proper channels means. If you can elaborate.
oh, well, I talked to my GP,
Hmm.
my main GP at the time, and that's general practitioner. And if you don't know what a general practitioner is, that's a medical doctor that
Hmm.
basically has an office and they try and treat a whole multitude of different things.
Hmm.
If there's something that they don't know anything about, they send you to a specialist that specializes in what the GP thinks is going on. So when you go to that specialist, the specialist will then recommend you to a therapist or a psychiatrist with a PhD, and you sit down and you talk with them and you tell them exactly what's going on and whatnot. And based off of what you tell them, your symptoms is what they go off of when they diagnose you. So I went through the proper channels. Plus, I started transitioning socially. I was growing my hair out. I
Hmm.
was wearing women's clothes and slowly getting rid of my male clothes. So essentially, I was cross dressing as a man my entire life. Um, Now, as far as the violence is concerned, the violence on
Hmm.
violence, um, the whole turn the other cheek thing has not been working at all. At all.
Hmm.
I believe it's a like a Jesus Christ thing where, we turn the other cheek and we just allow our abusers to continue to abuse us. And where's the progress from that? It's probably going to take a trans person standing up for themselves, protecting themselves, and probably using violence against violence to get these people to understand, quit messing with us. We just want to live our lives. Leave us alone. We want to take a piss and shit in peace, which is all I want to do. I suffer from Crohn's disease, so
Hmm.
nobody's going to stop me from going into a woman's bathroom because I'm going to bowl through them like a freight train to get in there and do my business.
Hmm.
But that's what I think about it. I mean, it's about time somebody, a figure, a face, a name, a voice, stands up and puts that thought in the back of those people's minds that may want to fuck with one of my trans sisters, brothers, or theys and thems, that,
Hmm.
hey, they may be armed. I don't want to risk it.
Hmm. I don't know about like in my personal. I don't know about your life, but in my personal life, I've never had. Even when I didn't pass early on, I looked like a clown. I would go into women's spaces. I used to work for a company where I had to go all over the whole United States, and I had to go through locker rooms, and they didn't have gender neutral anything, and I had to go through places where there was no other way but to go through the men's or the women's. And like even when I looked like a clown, I obviously didn't pass. Like I still never had a single problem in 11 years inside of a women's restroom or a locker room. So I don't understand how people are having such a hard time in these spaces. They're getting so much backlash when I've never seen this be a problem in my daily life. And the only time I see this being a problem is either online or when these people are trying to go in these spaces when they are obviously like on day number one of transition, or are they going with a full beard or whatever stuff that I feel like is not socially acceptable. Um, I don't know where all these problems came from. If people actually like, hey, maybe I shouldn't go in that restroom. Maybe I should wait a little bit and work on my transition a little bit and not go in with the beard and go in and like I'm going to be here. I don't know. I've never had an issue whatsoever, so I don't understand how so many people do.
Right, putting forth the effort, to try and show people, hey, look, I mean you no harm. I am
Mm-hmm.
actually a trans woman. Now the people that go in with their short hair, they go in with male clothes and then change into women's clothes in the locker room. That's where I raise an eyebrow,
Okay.
um, because like I said before, you can work out in a wig. There are wigs out there that'll
Yeah.
stay on that
Not
are
the most
really good.
comfortable, but you can do it. So yeah.
And so
Hmm.
yeah, you don't have to go in looking male-ish. I mean,
But the people in our community are pushing forward this narrative that rather than going and trying to do what does like the least social harm, as I like to put it, they think it's more about how they feel, and then they feel justified that they can just waltz in and not really have any consideration for anyone else in that space. And then people in our community will defend them. And if people have a problem with these people in these spaces, our community will start calling the people that had a problem with it as being like transphobic or hateful or a whole bunch of other terms like a turf, like you know the list. So the full self ID thing where people just self ID and say that's all that matters. I'm not on the boat with that. Like, would you be on the boat with that? Or are you kind of like stuck in the middle? I'm completely for the route where people have to put work in their transition. They have to wait a certain amount of time. I believe that people should get their gender markers changed on at least a driver's license, or get like a document from like their like therapist, for instance, so that there actually is like some safeguards, not just like a free for all, for instance. Like where would on this scale like would you be?
well, coming from a medical standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
self ID or self diagnosis is a very
Mm-hmm.
dangerous thing.
Yes,
That's
I
a
agree.
dangerous road to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since the internet came about, and people could Google their symptoms and automatically go, "Oh, well, I have that, so
Mm-hmm.
therefore I'm going to go through my life saying that I have that."
Mm-hmm.
Without going through the proper channels, like going through a GP and a specialist and everything and getting properly diagnosed. Self ID and self diagnosis is a very dangerous thing to do.
It is. Do you think that this whole implied consent, where you no longer have to go through to a therapist for a set amount of time in order to get on the hormones, is a good idea or a bad idea? I'm just curious before we continue. 'Cause I
Uh,
remember when I first started, I had to go for a set time. WPATH, which regulated everything back then, said that at that time you had to go for 3 months and then you could get your referral for hormones. But now they've actually completely gotten rid of it.
yeah, that too is a dangerous thing
Hmm.
because we are at higher risk for cancer and
Hmm.
strokes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And that's why I tell people this whole self ID, self diagnosis thing is not only ridiculous, but it's dangerous because you don't understand what you are putting your body at risk for. And those of us who are actually transgender or born with a woman's brain in a male body, we're
Hmm.
willing to accept those risks
Mm-hmm.
just to, be happy, be ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think some of this has to do with some of the backlash that we're getting? Because now that we have gotten rid of all of these safeguards, people need self ID, not actually go to a medical professional, and these women in these spaces are worried that these men who are actually just pretending to be trans are using our, like, pretty much appropriating our transness in order to go into these spaces, and then they're being used to make the whole community look like a pardon my language, but a shit show.
Yeah, I've never once ever
Mm-hmm.
shied away from or denied that there are people out there that could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched before while I was killing time. I just watched a TikTok video where it was nothing but Christian youth pastors, and there was over 15 of them so far, and it
Mm-hmm.
was this year that they were caught molesting their younger parishioners. And I don't understand why the focus isn't on actual pedophiles and where the pedophiles are
Mm-hmm.
versus calling us pedophiles because we want to go into a restroom that just so happens that there might be a child in there while we're in a closed stall.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget there aren't urinals. Last time I checked, there weren't any urinals in a women's restroom.
No.
And last time I checked, it said women and men. That's a gender. If it said female and male, that's a sex.
No.
So as long as I've been alive, it's always been women, men, ladies, gents,
Mm-hmm.
or lasses, and I forget the male term, blokes. There we go,
Looks.
blokes.
Yeah.
So therefore, I am, as I've been identified as a woman by my medical professionals, my doctors, and
Mm-hmm.
everything,
Mm-hmm.
I am entitled to use the women's restroom and locker room. Now, if they
Mm-hmm.
change it to female, then you could have an argument.
Let's play a fun hypothetical here. Let's say that they pass a law that says that you have to use the bathroom of your birth sex. People make the claim that trans women inside of the locker rooms or bathrooms are going or could potentially cause so much harm. But a lot of people fail to realize is that if you take a trans woman, say that because she is genetically male, that she has to go into the men's room. But laws have to be applied equally. So I wonder how much social harm is going to happen when they realize that these trans men are going to go into the women's restroom, and then you're going to have these men who identify as men are going to pretend to be trans men. So I wonder like what how much of this is that they've actually thought of rather than just like focusing on just trans women.
4 words. I only have 4 words for it. Reap what
Yeah,
you sow.
yeah. So I think we covered that topic well enough. When I do some research online about you, you're obviously called a trans activist. Would you consider yourself a trans activist? Because you just search your name, Tara J. Trans,
Yes.
and then it's a whole bunch of trans activist says this, and there's another Tara J that is an actor that's not you, and then it would be like more stuff. Trans activist says this. So I'm just curious, is that a title that has been bestowed upon you, or is this one that you like to consider yourself?
That was just something put upon me. I like to consider, as a 42-year-old woman, I like to consider myself, a big mama bear for all of
Mm-hmm.
my younger cubs and younger bears out there. And I just want to stand up for, those who can't stand up for themselves. I want to speak up for those who can't speak up for themselves. And I want to stand shoulder to shoulder with those who have been oppressed. That includes cisgendered women. Um, and they don't get that, of course. They just
Mm-hmm.
think that I'm there to see their hoo ha in the bathroom. And people have asked me, hypotheticals like, well, what if my little girl was in there and was uncomfortable? And I said, well, easy solution: walk out and wait for me to get done,
Mm-hmm.
or just stand there and wait.
Hmm. So people do
because
all
I'm
these
gonna just
hypothetical. People do all these hypotheticals with you online. Do you have any experiences in person where you've had an issue, or is this is all people just doing all this online?
absolutely not one.
Hmm. Interesting. So it goes back to it. This is mainly just an online problem, or an
Hmm.
isolated problem where people are just pretending to be us. Okay. Um. Next question I have: would you say you are a good representation for the trans community? Because you put out a lot of videos about arming up and going about wherever you went. Do you think this is a good representation for the trans community? Do you think it's positive, negative, or do you think it's neutral outlook? Like, how do you think the community views it, and how do you think the non-trans community would look at it?
I've never once thought of myself as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to be considered a leader. I'm more of a motivator.
Motivator.
Yeah, I would I'm trying to motivate my community to get tougher and to get thicker skin and to stand up for themselves and not put up with any of this bullshit. Um, but as a trans activist, no, I don't go to well, I plan on going to city council meetings, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't go to these rallies and hold up signs and wear
Mm-hmm.
a hat that's supposed to resemble a vagina or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a motivator. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Um, I lost my train of thought for that one. I'll come back to it. Um, I watched one of your videos. This goes back to violence. Your pinned post on your TikTok states that you disagree that violence isn't the answer and claims that you are totally reactionary. At what point do you think you're are just reactionary, or you think that you could just like stop like addressing something, and then people might stop attacking you or attacking the community? Because I feel like a lot of times these people I don't know the best way to say this. You keep on going after someone, and they keep coming back. They pretty much want the last word, and eventually someone's going to have to stop.
Hmm.
And do you feel like it has to be them, or do you feel like you could actually stop, and then maybe a lot of hate would stop coming towards you?
Well, if you've looked at my videos,
I've gone through
um,
quite a few.
I've
Though,
got thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of
hmm.
people all saying the same rhetoric. And I do answer certain questions or
Hmm.
comments that seem genuine and nice,
Hmm.
in which case I'm genuine and nice. But when you get the real nasty ones, if I'm able to sort of word it to where TikTok can't take it down, then I'm
Hmm.
totally reactionary and I come at you, 10 times harder.
Reminds me of the Israeli response strikes. They always strike back 10 times harder. So I just know in my personal life, and once again, this is anecdotal. Whenever I have someone who, let's say, is trying to bully me, for instance, um, I could react to it or I could not react to it. And if I react to it, um, I've noticed in the past that I always get backlash again. But I've learned in my life that a lot of times if I don't react to it and I don't let them know that like it bothers me whatsoever and just ignore it, they stop coming after me. They don't do anything anymore. Like this
Mm.
is what I learned all my life. So eventually I feel like that maybe that could be something that could be done, because I feel like if you keep doing it, I think it comes to a point where like I think you like it a little bit, and you like that people keep coming back and forth, and kind of like the dialogue, even though it's not positive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Um, if you're familiar with a comedian, I think his name is Jeff Hostetler, and
Say it one
he
more time.
is
I didn't hear you.
Jeff Hostetler.
Okay.
He's a comedian. He supports LGBTQIA rights. He
Mm-hmm.
supports women's rights, and a lot of times he gets a lot of hecklers. And I consider him the king of the hecklers because he knows how to handle them. I
Mm-hmm.
myself know how to handle um, a lot of these people that come at me. So sometimes I just do it for fun.
Do for fun. Okay. I had a feeling some of it was like, let's see what reaction I get today from this. I had a glance through your things. I was recognizing some patterns, and I was just like, just thinking about it. So,
Yep.
just to take a little break from all the serious stuff. In one of your videos, you say that you start off before you go into other stuff, but you say that you are so much more than trans. You want to elaborate more about what you are other than a trans person, like what
Hmm.
makes you. So people, I feel like people who know you only know you for your viral videos for, as they say, I'm gonna go wherever the fuck I please, kind of like messages, or everyone needs to arm up and get ready. I, but I want to give you the platform to be able to share with people what you are besides that.
Absolutely. Um, I'm somebody because I've owned my own business and I owned my own business for 11 years.
Hmm.
Um, I used to be a firefighter. I've worked a lot of different jobs. I'm at the point right now where I, have a lot of free time. You can consider me retired.
Hmm.
Um, but when two of my dogs were alive, I used to take them up to the local um, old folks home
Okay.
and walk around with them and let the old
Hmm.
folks pet the dogs. And I used to
Hmm.
paint their nails and dress them up really nice so that they look cute. And
Hmm.
I taught them, how to get the dogs to do tricks and everything for treats. And so I would volunteer my time there. I'm a conservationist, I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman. I love gardening. I have a passion for marine biology, entomology. I have a passion for metal work, like welding, engineering, putting things together. I'm a gamer. Um, I'm a wonderful girlfriend to multiple other girlfriends. I'm polyamorous.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a pitiable activist. That I will admit I am an activist when it comes to saving pit bulls and rescuing them. We just rescued a German Shepherd. She turned 11 this month, and she's a handful. Um, I'm a nice person. I love to joke around. I love to have conversations. I can walk into a crowd of people and start a conversation with anybody because I'm an extrovert. I'm not shy
Hmm.
at all. I'm a good person. I pay my taxes. I help people when they need help. I help my elderly neighbor across the street whenever she needs help. Same with my elderly next door neighbor. Um, yeah, I mean that's all. That's about it. I'm a nice person that's just normal like everybody else.
Okay. Alrighty. So one of your videos, you start talking about traps, and
Yes.
you're very opinionated about traps. Do you want to talk about your opinions about traps, or you want me to just go over my questions?
You can ask a question.
Okay. In your video, you claim that pretty much traps don't have any skin in the game, and because the ones that are unpassing are on the front lines. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, hang on. I'm trying to find my plug to plug into my phone so my phone don't die.
Oh.
Um, they don't have it as hard as someone like me. They can walk around and they can go into any women's restroom, regardless of any law that prevents them from doing so, go in and go out without any problems. Um, they're living the life that the rest of us wish we could live. Being able to just, you know, walk up to somebody and they all of a sudden, they automatically assume, hey, that's a woman
Hmm.
versus is that a man?
Have you had people go up to you before and be like, "Are you a man or a woman?" I know some children are very blunt, but No. So
No.
I'm
I
I'm
get
trying to figure out, like, you say that these people can go into these bathrooms and not have any problems, but you tell me that you've never had any problems in person. Do you think that that people don't have problems with you just because they're being nice, or do you think that um like, why do you think that you haven't had any problems, but these traps they have it so easy when it comes to
because
like
I think,
bathrooms?
well, because of where I live.
Mm-hmm.
People just don't care. You know, as long as you're not going in there causing a problem, they don't freaking care.
You live in a very liberal area, based on what
S-
you, I'm guessing based on what
Sort
you're
of,
saying, sort of.
sort of,
Because
yeah.
I've been in some very red areas, very conservative areas. I was recently in Nashville, Tennessee, and I did not have a single problem. And no, I was not wearing makeup then either, and my hair was a mess. So like, even to this day, like, I've never had any issues, and I honestly believe that it's not all about passing, and it has more to do with energy and effort. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like if someone is, let's say that they're passing, but then they go in and be like, I'm going to go in and you can't stop me, it's going to raise some eyebrows and people are going to be alarmed. Then understand? Like, energy goes a long way. Um, and when you say that traps have nothing to worry about, you're talking about because they pass so well that they don't have any problems, like in society.
Correct.
Do you think that they don't struggle with dysphoria the same way, or do you think that they have it harder? Do you think they have it not as hard?
They don't have it as hard. And I don't
They
see
don't.
why they would even, worry about that, because when they look in the
Mm-hmm.
mirror, they see a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and they very well should see a woman, because every trap video that I see here on TikTok where they're boo-hooing about something, I'm like, God, come on, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, girl, you could
Going
be
after attention.
making
Yeah.
money hand over fist
Mm-hmm.
because of how gorgeous you are.
Yeah. That's not isolated to just trans women, by the way. I just know that, oh, I know in the trans community, there's a lot of people that are very jealous about trans people who do pass and are like very feminine. But this is the thing with like everybody, even if they're not trans, like you'll look at people and they're going to be jealous of somebody. It's just how society is. So sometimes people are their own worst judgment. Like I will look at myself even when without makeup, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so dysphoric right now. But then I'll still go into like the women's restroom, whatever, and or in the locker room, and no one bats an eye. So sometimes I feel like some people think that they don't pass or they're not going to be able to go somewhere, and then they'll be fine. So
Yep.
yeah. So um, what's the next one? Alrighty. Where are you? So, as you, just for disclaimer, Tara and I actually talked on Discord a couple days ago and found out that you used to be a Blair White fan. Okay.
Hmm.
Are you willing to talk about that
Sure.
and why you decided not to be a Blair White fan?
Sure.
Uh, that's first question is what got you to be a Blair White fan, or how did you find out about her as well?
Um, I wanted to support transgender people online.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times back then, what I would do is I would just type in the search engine transgender YouTuber, transgender gamer, transgender this, transgender that.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across Blair White's videos. And back then, she used to be an okay person.
Mm-hmm.
But now,
What year would
she,
have this been?
I
Was
don't
this been?
remember.
She's been doing YouTube, I think 7, 8 years now. So that would be like 2016, 2017-ish.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but when she decided to start grifting to the far right, because she's a trap, she passes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that a lot of the conservatives and Republicans that hate trans people will flock to these tokens, because these tokens are repeating the same diarrhea vitriol that they're
Mm-hmm.
repeating. And whether they pass or not, it's a grifting situation. Same thing with Buck Angel. Used to be a fan of him, idolized him. He was going to be my first interview person that I interviewed until
Mm-hmm.
he called me misogynistic and then tucked his tail between his legs and became a coward and ran away and wouldn't answer why he called me misogynistic.
Mm-hmm. I've actually reached out to Buck Angel and Blair White in messages, and they never react to me either. So they might have just been bombarded with messages. So I wouldn't say that they're necessarily just like ignoring you. So, but yeah, they could possibly be that they're ignoring you, but I don't know. I just know that they probably get bombarded by a lot of people with adding them or messaging them. So it's very possible that they never saw your message.
Oh, I've messaged them numerous times. I've left comments on their
Mm-hmm.
videos.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Buck
Yeah.
Angel. I mean that guy. He is the grifter of grifters. I call him the grifter king,
The Grifter
and I
King.
call Blair White the grifter queen.
Yeah. So. So what point with Blair White was it you've had the last straw? Do you remember like what video or what thing she said or what it was that made you be like, you know what, I can't stand behind her no more?
I believe it was when she announced that she was a Republican.
Which she says that she votes Republican. She's a center, but her morals line a little bit more right. But a lot of people like to put on like the whole conservative part on her. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
And then it was videos that contained her talking about how, trans youth shouldn't be allowed to transition and
Okay,
they
I
should
have so
wait
much to
until
say about
they're
that.
18 or 21 or something like that.
Hmm. So when it comes to children transitioning, I am actually in the same boat with Blair. If you want to go over this, I know you went over it in a past interview, but I honestly, even that, I came out for the first time when I was in fourth grade at a Christian school, and I came out to my mom in sixth grade back in 1999. So even when I look back now, like there's times where like yes, my body would have changed so well. I would have passed so well. I would have had a different facial features and whatever. But I look back now and realize that it would have been a bad decision for me to medically transition. I just don't understand why people think transitioning children medically is a good idea right now. Like I can understand a social transition. I'm just curious what your argument for medically transitioning children would be.
Well, I think you said it yourself that if you would have been able to been on puberty blockers
Mm-hmm.
from puberty up until like 16, 17, 18 years old, where you could
Mm-hmm.
get hormones,
Mm-hmm.
things would have been a lot different. People got to keep in mind that as transgender women adults, we were once transgender women children. We were trans kids, and here we are wishing that we had access to the same medical care that the current generation has. I would have turned out way differently if I could have, transitioned early and gotten on the puberty blockers and then gotten on the hormones at,
Mm-hmm.
17, 18 years old. Um, I just think that it's a ridiculous argument, this whole transgender youth thing. No kid is getting their boobs lopped off or their penis inverted to be a vagina under the age of 18, with the exception, there is an exception, Chloe Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chloe Cole knew exactly what she was doing. She knew what she wanted. She got it. And because the results didn't turn out the way she had hoped, she then decided to become a grifter and use her story in a negative way to spark this whole, oh, kids are getting, surgeries and they're getting their boobs lopped off, they're getting their
Mm-hmm.
penises lopped off, which is total utter bullshit. It's not fucking
Mm-hmm.
happening.
I know for bottom surgery, it's not happening much at all. It's a very, very rare cases. I know for children getting their tops, like getting mastectomies, for instance, Those are happening a little bit more frequently. It's still happening. People like to say it doesn't happen. But when it comes to, I'm talking about more about puberty blockers and getting on hormones as a child. I don't think that is actually the best idea. Um, because when people are like, oh my gosh, I would have looked so much better. I would have had different facial features. I would have had better, best breast growth or hips, whatever. They're always looking at the aesthetics, like how the person looks, and not rather like the health of that child whenever they're an adult. And also, if a trans woman, for instance, or trans child that's going to be male to female, goes through these puberty blockers and then goes on hormones, if they want to get bottom surgery later, they don't actually have enough tissue if they actually want to go that route and actually have a partner that way. And also, it causes infertility as well. So there's a lot of, and children can't consent to something that early on, and a lot of times these children will snap out of it. Some people in our community will be like, hey, they were never trans, but the problem is like if we give them puberty blockers, like 90 to 98% of these children will end up getting on hormones rather than just letting like them develop, and then later on they can actually make the decision to do it whenever they're like 17 or 18 years old.
So your answer basically is
Mm-hmm.
you don't want these kids to have a successful outcome, and be happy and have a better chance at their exterior matching their interior for what? Because
There's
they can't
no
consent. I mean,
there's no
I
way.
consented when I was that age. I could consent.
A lot of these children don't know what they want for breakfast or what they want for dinner in 3 days. A lot of these kids, especially in today's climate, are very about like being in their like social niches, for instance, and then they are very well influenced by outside factors. And a lot of times, if you just let these children just actually like develop and just grow up, a lot of times they will actually just grow out of it, and it was just ended up being a phase. But once a child is actually down that pipeline, I feel like we've already like set the, hey, you're gonna go this way. Does that make sense?
And that's exactly what puberty blockers does.
Hmm.
Gives them a chance to decide, gives them plenty of time to decide.
And
And
by
once
plenty of
they
time, when you're talking about like 5 months, 1 year, like they say that puberty blockers are reversible, but there's side effects that are not reversible that people don't like to talk about.
and there are more studies saying that they are reversible.
Hmm.
That's the thing. One little person has a negative experience, and all of a sudden it's the gospel of the truth. Chloe Cole. That's why I despise that person. I loathe that person because female to male transgender people, they have a very harsher transition because testosterone is a very radical hormone.
Hmm.
Very radical.
Very strong too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a best friend who is a trans man, and he was trans all pretty much all his life, like I was. His mom knew it, accepted it. He got a double mastectomy a couple years ago,
Hmm.
and oh my God, he's a beefcake. He passes. I mean, female to male trans people have it so much easier than male to female
When
because
you look
us
at
it takes a
aesthetics,
lot
yes.
longer.
When you look at aesthetics, yes, they have it
Yeah,
easier in that regard.
yeah.
But in many ways, they actually have it worse. So,
Well, yeah, they in a sense do because, like I said,
hmm,
testosterone is a very radical
hmm,
hormone.
yeah,
A lot of these men, trans men, end up with so much acne that they get so depressed about it, and they detransition because of it,
hmm,
or it makes their body feel a way that they don't like, and then they
hmm,
detransition, and then they use that story negatively to try and impact the trans youth movement to try and just let kids be kids and be on puberty blockers, let them decide, see how it goes, and if it goes the way they want, then hormones afterwards. If it's not, take off the puberty blockers and they just continue their normal thing.
I still don't think that children should be on puberty blockers or especially transitioning, but we can agree to disagree on this one if you want to move on.
Well, of course. I mean, like I said, there's going to be things that we disagree on.
Yeah.
That it's not the end of the world at all.
Like one thing I look at it is a child can't consent to having sex with an adult. A child can't go fight for the country and die in the war. A child can't smoke. A child can't drink. There's so many things that a child can't consent, and their frontal lobe hasn't actually like developed well enough for them to actually process all of the risks and everything. So, yeah,
Well,
someone can be
yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, I feel this way," but like,
Yeah, the straw man effect. You're just grasping at straws there.
mhm,
I mean, when it comes to medicine, that's a different
mhm,
thing.
mhm,
We're not talking about fighting for our country. We're not talking about, hey, you want a coffin nail, here you go, or drinking. We're not talking about that. We're talking about transition, puberty blockers, giving them the time to think, adjust, and decide for themselves.
mhm.
We're not talking about smoking. We're not talking about drinking. We're not talking about sex. I mean, hell, I lost my virginity at 13. And I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people out there watching that have lost their virginity at the same age, if not a little bit later, or after prom night.
Mhm.
Um, it happens. But giving a kid the time to think with puberty blockers is the right way to go. I We can agree to disagree on it, but that's just the way I feel.
Do you really believe that a child, let's say someone comes into the age of puberty, for instance, let's just use 13 for an age, even though that is a tad bit late, um, can truly understand the ramifications of what puberty blockers are going to do, what hormones are going to do long term? Do you think they can actually understand 10 years out, this is what's going to happen, 20 years out, this is what's going to happen, and how it's going to affect my body? Because I feel like a lot of these doctors and a lot of these people only look at, hey, I'm going to get breast growth, my face is going to change, this is going to change, but they don't actually think about like what not going through your actual puberty is going to do to your body, and not being able, especially when you lose the ability to have offspring. That like, I don't understand why any child can even fathom like why, like I don't understand why an adult can think that a child can consent to making themselves infertile, for instance.
Out of 10 billion to 11 billion people, why are we so concerned about procreation?
That's because survival. If we don't procreate, we die. We become extinct.
Did you say the Bible?
Sorry.
I want to know, like y'all are talking about puberty blockers and um, going that route. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to redirect, like, what is y'all's opinion on Jazz Jennings and what she happened on? Because some of the things y'all are touching on, like you could see in her case, like she did the puberty blockers and the hormones early, and so she got the outward appearance that she was seeking. But like you said, the tissue wasn't enough and she had major complications in the vaginal surgery. What is your opinion on that?
You want to go first, Tara?
Well, all I can say is Jazz Jennings has flat out said, I would not change a thing. I am happy the way I am, and that's the way it is. Yes, I've had complications, but um, I would never change a thing. That's all I have to say about that.
So, Josh Jennings' example, yes, she ended up being very happy with her transition for the most part, but it actually goes to the whole thing, like Becky was saying, what I said earlier. She wanted to get the full depth surgery and everything like that, but because she did not go through the male puberty, she did not get enough tissue in order to be able to do that surgery, and there were major complications, like major complications with her surgery. So, um, I think we should just move on from this one. We're definitely just going to continue to disagree here, unless you want to continue to deliberate on this one. Ready to move on?
Well, like I said, she's happy, so that's all I have to say. As long as she's
Yeah.
happy, she's happy.
So for the most part, I believe in her case it was the right thing to do. However, like, how do we know for a fact that hey, this child is trans and this child isn't trans? It's just that's the thing that I really try to get my head wrapped around. But anyway, let's move it on. So one thing that was very interesting on your TikTok feed, I lost my notes here. Um, there was apparently some challenge that I came across. Where is it? Where was the person's name? It was a person by the name of Lindsay. Like said something about a challenge. I go like, where have you been? Like, what was this about? I'm curious the backstory to this one.
So Lindsay, she makes her career off of just talking shit to people or about people, making videos, making fun of people. She's
Mm-hmm.
fully admitted that. Um, and she gets off on it. That's her thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One day I just happened to say, hey, we ought to set up a charity MMA fight, and all money that's donated for the fight should go to our specific charities. And she, of course, has accepted the fight. I've accepted the fight. Um, Even
So by
as out
fight,
of
is this an actually physical fight or is it
oh
like a
yeah,
fight? Okay. Let's
oh
make sure
yeah,
I
like
understand this correctly. Okay.
yeah, MMA fight. We'd have
Okay.
the gloves, and we'd have mouthpieces in to protect our teeth. Um, Even as out of shape as I am,
Mm-hmm.
I would literally break her in half. And I do still look forward to the fight, but until funding is in a way to where I can either get out there to do it or she comes here to do it. I don't know. I'm thinking about reaching out to backyard. There's a YouTube channel called Backyard Beefs where they
Backyard
allow
beef?
people to duke out their differences, and
Like
once
physically
the
duke it out? Like hey, hey.
yeah,
Like, okay.
and they do it in a way where it's
Mm-hmm.
safe from law enforcement, so you wouldn't get in trouble from law enforcement for fighting, because there's a lot of states that don't allow mutual combat.
Even if it's
And
like a contract, like, hey, this is acceptable and okay.
yeah, and then after the match is over, that's it, you've settled your beef, and that's it. You don't you know go on any further than that.
Hmm. So what would your beef be with Lindsay then that you need to have an MMA fight? I'm curious.
My beef with her is she's got a big mouth,
Big mouth.
and she doesn't understand that bullying is it's unacceptable. Bullying people for the way they look, for the way they talk, for the way they dress,
Mm-hmm.
for what they believe, that's it's unacceptable. It's chicken shit mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You hide behind your computer and you make these little funny little memes and funny little videos with music and stuff, and have a condescending tone to your voice, much like Lady J. I've got a
Mm-hmm.
beef with her.
I've
um,
noticed. I've seen her video. I used one of her videos in in one of my YouTube videos.
yeah, she
Yeah.
I love the way she talks because it's so
In some of her scenes, she doesn't even have to talk. She just has to give you that look, and you know exactly what she means.
yeah, she's just the way it's so condescending. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want to say it, but yeah. And so anywho, that's the whole beef with me and Lindsay is there's a lot of people that she has bullied that want me to just totally pummel her into the ground.
These people that she was going after, they asked you to pummel her into the ground. They reached
Hmm.
out, they're like, "Hey, Tara, really take care of this person for me." They
Oh
actually
yeah,
reached out to you.
they're like, yeah, I support this. I hope you kick the shit out of her. I hope
And how
you
many
give her
people would
free
you say
dental
did this?
work.
I'm curious. Was it just like a handful of people? Was it a lot of people?
Was it what?
Was there like just a couple people that asked you, like, "Hey, take care of this," or was it like a lot of people going, "Hey, Tara, like, can you take care of this lady? I'm curious. You said like people came to you.
Hmm.
Is this like 2 people? Is this like 10 people?
Oh no, it's a lot of people.
A lot of people. What do you define as a lot? Because that's up for interpretation.
Oh, over 100.
Over
I mean,
100.
I've gotten millions upon millions and upon millions of death threats in my DMs, and it's hard for me to just flip through and find anything good. But once I, do find something good, I talk back to them and say, hey, thank you for the comment, and I appreciate it. Um, Hell, I've even had DHS, FBI come to my house asking me if I'm okay because they saw the death threats on, my TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And I've reported quite a few. I've reported quite a few cis men that pretended to be police officers. And
Which is actually a felony, if I recall.
oh
Impersonating a
yeah,
police officer, yeah.
yeah, these guys are in federal prison now
Mm-hmm.
for what they did, and just. And plus, I've been reporting people to their bosses at work whenever I can find them. I report them at work, get them to
So these
lose their
people,
jobs.
make sure I understand this correctly. They would respond to you, and then you'd go find out where they work, and then report them to their boss.
Yeah, if it was like a death threat or something like that, if they use their real name,
If they
or
did
if
a death threat, why wouldn't you just go to the police and let them handle it? Like, why do you feel like you have to go do it?
the police don't do nothing.
They don't do nothing.
No.
Interesting. So they just like, oh, not a problem.
I mean, they say they can take a report, but there's nothing that they can really do, especially if the person is out of state or out of the city. There's nothing that they
out
can
of their
do.
Jurisdiction, yeah.
I kind of wish that there was an international terroristic threat law to where if you make a death threat over state lines, that you can and will be extradited and prosecuted for that crime in the state that it was sent to.
Yeah. I don't understand why people feel the need to give death threats. So I honestly think that should be a thing. Like if you give a death threat, you should be extradited. I agree with that one. So.
Yep. But yeah, the DHS agent and FBI agent were really nice. They played with my dogs, and they said that if I have any more issues, to give them a call, and they both gave me their business cards, and I've been doing it. I've been reporting to ic3.gov left and right.
Interesting. So even if you do they usually? I'm curious. Do you usually get more of an influx in death threats whenever you post something new, or is it just a continuous like bombardment of like death threats like, over and over and over again now these days?
It's a continuous thing. Even like you saw on one of my cute videos of just my dogs, I'll get negative comments, and it's just a matter of time before people will just start filling those videos up with you're a man, not a woman. Hello, sir. What's up, bro? And then the death threats either come in the comment section through sock accounts, or they'll come through my DMs through sock accounts.
Okay. I know. I just know one thing that blew my mind was when I decided to get on TikTok. Never in my life have I seen so much negativity in my life until I got on TikTok. Like, so there's some days where for my own sanity, I have to take my iPad and be like, no. Right, and then it's like, nope, not doing this today. So sometimes I think some people should just take a sabbatical from TikTok. And I've been on a lot of lives, for instance, where you have some people that are very moderate about trans people, and then you have some people that are on the extremes. And you'll notice that the people on the extremes, they like to always flock to those same people. They're always talking about the same stuff again and again and again. And you see them every single day. And I'm just like, I'm a trans woman, and it seems like you're more obsessed with trans people than I am. Do you notice the same thing on TikTok?
Yep. I I'll put my phone down or my tablet down the same way, just like you. When it gets too much, or if I feel, tickled enough to, make somebody mad, I'll reply to their comment with a video. And
Hmm.
I would love to make videos um, doing fun things, but I would still get the same thing.
I feel like this is my opinion. This is not saying this is actually what happened, but this is what I've witnessed or what I've seen, and what the conclusion that I came to is that now that you've had these videos out, you I feel like you've made yourself like enemy number one with these people,
Hmm.
and then now even if you do these happy videos, that they are going to continue to come after you. But I do feel like that after a while they'll might get bored, but I feel like if you actually start just doing like happy videos, sometimes people would just like, oh, whatever, let's go into something else. But
Hmm.
I don't, that's just me, but I don't know. I've never gone out on a video and told people to arm up, or I've never ever in my life told people I'm gonna go wherever the fuck I please, or I'm gonna go and like I'm gonna go in the women's restroom and there's nothing you can do. So I've never said these words except for like talking actually about some of these activists, and then in this case, I've never ever said these words. So I can. People are going to always take these clips and then be like and come at you. No matter if you make these cute puppy videos, or if you get some kids and make these cute kid videos or whatever, make these funny jokes that have nothing to do with being trans. So I don't know. Maybe after a while they'll stop and they'll get bored, or maybe there'll be someone else that does something a little bit more like extreme, and then they'll take the attention off of you. I don't know, but maybe you've made yourself a fan base.
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I don't mind being public enemy number one. It doesn't bother me. I'm well armed. I'm well protected, and I know my
Hmm.
local laws.
You're well armed.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, I don't mind. It doesn't
Hmm.
bother me.
Hmm. Someone in the comments wants me to ask about your assault charges. Do you have anything to say about someone named the Real True Conservative, with apparently with the Confederate flag as his logo? Um, but you need to change your logo. I'm sorry. Um, but it says Cassie, ask about his assault charges. Like, what is this person talking about?
I have no clue.
Okay, I
There
don't
are
know.
no assault
I
charges.
don't
I've
know.
never been investigated. I've never been arrested. Um, there's nothing on me.
Yeah,
There's absolutely
I saw
nothing.
things on TikTok where they were claiming that you were in prison or arrested for your calling people to arms video. So some of those pictures were very convincing. So so you've never been arrested, have you never been detained, nothing, never been to court or anything?
No.
Never been to, okay. So I didn't look that deep into that one. Um so
No, there's a lot of people saying that I've been investigated or I'm currently under investigation and that I've been in jail, I've been arrested, blah, blah, blabbity, blah, blah. It's not true.
mhm, interesting. Okay.
They can stay mad.
Stay mad. Okay. Maybe the real true conservative can explain what the hell's going on, because I don't know. I don't obviously know everything about you. So, but I noticed this picture, which reminds me, I ended up scouring the internet for a lot of your socials, and I did pull up an old post of yours that talked about the Confederate flag.
Yes.
So, do you want to go talk about that yourself, or do you want me to just go on?
Ask questions.
So one of the things that you talked about, well, you can compare the American flag to see if it is offensive to Native Americans. To say that um, the Confederate flag is fine or something like that, and also to say that the Confederate flag is not racist and it has more to do with it has to do with heritage. And you also talked, if I remember the wording correctly, I don't have it right in front of me. You said that the Civil War was about state rights, not about slavery,
Uh-huh.
which is partially true, mostly true, but not entirely true, in my opinion. So I'm just curious, why do you think? Go beyond what that post says and tell these people why the Confederate flag is not racist. I'm curious about this one.
Well, I mean, I was a fucking moron years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a complete tard.
Mm-hmm.
I voted for Trump. I believed in Trump. I supported the Confederate flag as a flag of heritage until I started shutting my mouth and opening my ears and listening to people, opening up books and starting to read journals and actually read stuff that is independent and not a biased source.
Okay.
And I of course gave up on that, and I have never ever shied away from the fact that I've apologized for it and admitted that I was a fucking moron. I had no fucking brain back then.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that does not represent you who you are today. I'm just making sure you recognize you're saying that what you wrote back in the past was wrong and now you're a different person.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a brain now.
Okay.
I grew one.
I saw some other things on there that I'm not going to bring up, but so but I'm always curious. Like I know for me on social medias, I still have my old Facebook profile, for instance. I literally just leave it there so that people who knew me or family members who have a hard time accepting me have a page that they can go back and remember like my history. But I don't have anything like that on there. I'm just curious. Have you ever considered going and deleting some of these social media accounts and getting rid of them?
Hell no.
No. Is there a reason
no.
for it?
I want them to stay up because I want it. The old saying is there's a reason why we go over history, so we're not doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that as a reminder that I was a complete fucking moron and had no brain.
Okay.
I have nothing to hide. I don't delete anything. I don't delete people's messages. I don't report people to TikTok. None of that bullshit, because that's cowardly chicken shit. The way to handle things, which a lot of people just do to me for they want to silence me on TikTok, and they want me to get off of TikTok. Want to silence my voice, and if that's the case, then I'm doing my job right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was a dumbass, and I want that reminder. I want to be reminded I was a fucking dumbass back then.
Okay. When would you say that you stopped being a dumbass? I'm curious. Like, would you say? I think your newest profile started up in 2000. I forget. I'm losing a little bit of the details here. There's just so much information to go over. When did you realize that was wrong, and then change and be like, hey, Trump is a bad person. I don't do that. That post about the Confederate flag is completely wrong. I'm a bad person for it. Like, when did you have this realization?
When I started to date another trans femme, and we had an argument one night. She says, why don't you just, instead of doing a lot of mouth flapping, why don't you just open up your ears and listen to people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I gave it a shot, and wow, I was blown away. All these, listening to people spouting facts about Trump and spouting facts about this and that, and I quickly realized the error of my ways, and I fully admitted I was a dumbass.
Yeah. Was this like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? 7 years ago, 8 years ago?
6 years ago, I think.
6 years ago? Okay.
7 years ago?
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, I think we're about to wrap it up here. Oh, one thing I've noticed on your TikToks, you end up having a lot of facial hair. Does your beard give you dysphoria at all? I'm just curious. Does like the facial hair?
Oh, when I make videos before shaving.
I don't know what your routine is. I just know for me personally, like I'm still getting laser. I've been getting laser forever, and hair's
Yeah.
annoying as hell. I'm looking at your hair color and your skin color, and I think you probably will have to do electrolysis. But um, I just know that I would never go on video with any facial hair that I can like help, or like I definitely wouldn't have like it sticking out. For me, it's very, very, very dysphoric, and I would never do that. So I'm just curious, is this
So
something
you
that
want
doesn't
to know
really give
why
you
I
dysphoria, or
do
are you just kind of like I don't care? Like
it?
I'm genuinely curious.
Okay, well, I'm happy to share that.
Hmm.
The reason
Hmm.
why I do that is to show what real trans people look like.
Hmm.
Some of us, we have to shave, and
Hmm.
some of us don't have to shave.
Hmm.
Some of us are lucky like that. Me, on the other hand, I'm unfortunate. I've got to shave, but I'm not going to sit there and take time to shave just to make one video
Hmm.
because I want people to see that this is what a real trans woman looks like. It's a person who has to shave, a person who sometimes has a 5 o'clock shadow.
Hmm. Yeah. I was genuinely curious because I just know for me and a lot of trans people, they get great dysphoria and they would never be caught like dead with that on the internet. I'm just like,
Yeah.
hmm. So I was just genuinely curious. Um, so, is there anything else you want to add? I think we went over a lot of different things. There's one last thing I want to talk about, but I want to make sure that anything that you wanted to talk about, we could talk about if you had any ideas for something.
Um. No. I told you before. I'm here for questions and answers. So if you wanted to
Mhm.
ask me a question, I'll answer it. Oh, you wanted to talk about the whole non-binary thing.
The non-binary thing. Okay. So since you brought up, what do you want to talk about it, for instance?
You had mentioned that you don't understand the whole Z's or pronouns, stuff like that, and what I had told you was I don't know much about non-binary people to really
Hmm.
comment on them, but I do agree that the neo pronouns can be a problem, and also trying to classify themselves under the transgender umbrella can also be a problem. But again, I don't know much about it, so I'm not going to really comment too much on it. But I remember you brought that up, and I just wanted to reiterate it.
The reason I struggle with non-binary, for instance, is that I don't see how there's any basis in like science for it. Yes, people will make the argument that gender is a social construct, but like one thing I don't know how like some people come up with these pronouns. Like yes, I understand what a woman is or what a man is. You can use she and her, but I don't understand how someone can be there and a zer and or like a tree and tree self, or as I saw on one of your Nikki's interviews, like tree and tree self and like ornament self or something like that. I don't understand how people can claim these pronouns and expect people to take them seriously.
Right. I agree.
So yeah. And I don't think that non-binary should fall under the trans umbrella. I honestly think that they should have like their own letter, for instance, because I feel like it is actually dividing and making like transsexuals or transgender people, whatever, way too broad. And now people are like, what are you guys? Like, are you guys this? Are you that? Or whatever? And then these non-binary people are saying we're trans, and they're the ones that have like the beards, and then they do all this crazy stuff, and it's making us look like and like insane. And people are like, what are y'all? And then they think that the entire like community is like that. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
So do you kind of agree with what I'm saying? Do you have any like disagreements with?
Yeah.
So so there's some people that will call like people in my own community will call me transphobic and turf for saying these things. But I'm just like, how the hell can you be a zir and zer, and how can you expect people just to know? Like,
Yeah. For me, it's just the education part. You know, if they want to
Yeah.
sit down and educate me, I'm happy to sit down and listen.
Hmm. Yeah. So, but when it comes to binary, yeah. So, yeah, non-binary people, they still confuse the hell out of me. I don't understand. I just feel like they're just making their life extremely difficult. For instance, I try my best to understand like their fight and their plight, whatever, but like just can't I just can't understand it. But like I still don't think that they should be part of the trans umbrella. They should actually have like their own like segment. So yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, you have anything else to add on that one? Because this one we seem like we're pretty much in agreement with, so we're just like went right by. So
Yeah.
the last thing I wanted to touch on was actually sports.
Okay.
And
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I have to go to the bathroom soon. You guys okay without me for a
Oh
second?
yeah, yeah. Of course.
Okay.
of course, while she's going to the bathroom, why don't we do some questions from chat for a little bit?
Okay.
I don't know how many people are in here because I haven't even been paying attention. So if you're in the chat right now watching and you want to ask myself or Tara a question, just state the person's name first and the question you want answered. Let's see if anyone's still here. My laptop says that there's still 5 people watching.
I tried to get you some more,
Yeah,
attention.
I'm a nobody right now, so I didn't expect many people to be here. So my channel is literally like less than a month old. So
You'll get there.
I revitalized an old YouTube profile of mine to be this channel. So like if you go back and it'll say like established in 2020, but I didn't do
Mhm.
nothing with it.
Yep, you'll get there.
Yeah. So alrighty, let me see. What does this say? If I click this, will it come up? All right. Will this show up on the stream if I do it? Okay, there's a question. Um, says Tara, why did you have to retire from being a firefighter?
Why did I have to quit? Because of my Crohn's disease.
Retire. You quit. Sorry. Okay.
Yep, I quit. It's because of my Crohn's disease. It was putting not only myself but my fellow brothers in danger. Um, it is kind of hard to describe. One fire that I was at, my final fire that I was at, I had to do overhaul. And for those who don't know what overhaul is, it's just basically you take a pike pole and you're pulling the ceiling down and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was doing overhaul, I kept getting these sharp pains in my
Mm-hmm.
stomach area and in my colon area because of the stretching that I was doing. I mean, I was really stretching to do overhaul. And I was hurting. It hurt so bad that I was literally in tears in my mask.
Mm-hmm.
So I went outside and I told the EMTs that were there what was going on. That hey, it's my Crohn's disease, and I just need a minute to relax. And then I knew then that that was the time for me to just quit because I couldn't do it no more.
Mm-hmm. Miss Demon Fire, is that answer your question well enough? So Orchid Child, this isn't a question, but a statement rather. It says, image matters. Gosh, not shaving. Get laser. Are you a candidate for laser? I'm looking at your hair color and your skin. I think you probably be better off for electrolysis.
Well, my roommate is actually
Mm-hmm.
getting laser, and
Mm-hmm.
she told me how much it cost her. It's costing her $14,000 total,
For
and
full
she's
body?
making not for the whole body. No, she's doing the bikini, the
Like
face.
Brazilian?
Yeah,
Like a Brazilian? Okay.
yeah,
That's painful.
and everything else down there. She's getting that
Mm-hmm.
done.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's doing her arms and her chest area.
Okay. So.
and I don't think I qualify for laser. I wish I could. I really do. I really wish I could, but electrolysis is longer, more painful, more expensive. So,
You
I
said
mean,
laser or electrolysis? Sorry, you cut out a little bit for me. You said electrolysis is more expensive and painful?
yes.
Okay. So I've never had electrolysis in my life, so I have no idea what it feels like. I used to live with a trans woman that had electrolysis, and she hated it. So, all right, next one. Miss Demon Fire responded back to you and said, the reason I ask is because the real true conservative said she was fired for assault, so I'm just clarifying. So, and you said you've never had anything like that.
No.
So, sorry, Miss Demon Fire, I don't know what you're talking about. And Tara says no. So, the next question from the Crazy Tennessee editor. Cassie, would she need a editor if she does YouTube videos? Are you talking to Tara or are you talking to me? For me, I plan on editing my own videos. I am very much a novice at it, but I do have some experience. But I love to learn new things. Oh, Tara. So this question is actually for you, even though this person asked me to put my name first. So Tara, would you need a editor if she does YouTube videos? I don't know
I
if
don't
they are
know.
asking if you do YouTube videos or if I do YouTube videos. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm not there yet, so I'm not sure.
This person says that they do 3 videos for free. So maybe you could reach out
Okay.
if you wanted to do that. So, all right, one more question from anybody before we continue. Let me go back up this list. I don't see any questions up top. I haven't been reading chat like literally much at all. But I see that the real true conservative had a lot to say. Holy moly. Oh, Sky was here. Okay. I don't know if Sky, if you're still here. I'm glad you're here. Oh, Drogon is here. Nothing. There's more acceptance trans than ever before. Let me see. There was a question up here, and I'm not sure. Let me see. Oh, it's probably in response to that there's more backlash or hate to the community, and this person was saying nothing. What do you mean? There's more acceptance of trans than ever before. I wish I would have saw this earlier. Let me see. Are there any others? Okay, that's all of them. Oh, maybe. All right, last question. What's your thought on what TikTok does for our LGBTQIA community? When me go first?
Yes, you can go first.
So I believe that the TikTok, it can be used for a good thing to get people together in order to talk about issues. However, what I see on TikTok is people migrating to their niche or their echo chambers, for instance, and they are just sticking to the echo chambers. And some of these lives, for instance, you'll see these people that will literally just argue back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and the whole like landscape of these lives is essentially to go there to be right and not actually to have a discussion. So I actually think that TikTok is actually worse for us because people are not actually making any progress and people are just going after what they want to hear rather than trying to learn something new or try to understand somebody else. So I wish people would actually get off TikTok and actually go out and meet a trans person in person, so that you don't think that we're all these freaks that are just trying to be predators in locker rooms and restrooms, that we are actually people that actually care about society and don't want to cause harm, and that these crazy people that you see in the media, whether or not it's left wing or right wing, is not actually us. Those are just the outliers. So what is your take, Tara?
it can be a good thing for our community. However, um, all I see is negativity. Like I will search up, cute lesbian videos. Me being a lesbian myself, I'll look cute lesbian videos, and I'll see nothing but vitriol and diarrhea in there from the far right and the conservatives. And then you try and report it, and TikTok doesn't find any violations with it, but
Mm-hmm.
you reply back with an emoji, and they find a violation.
And
So
emoji is a violation?
yeah,
Like any emoji, or because I know there's some emojis that are now like guns, for instance, in coffins.
yeah, I've
So like
just
I can
used an
understand like
emoji.
something, but what kind of emojis are you referring to? Like a smiley face?
Well, I've used the poop emoji, I've used the clown emoji, I've used the brain emoji, um, and I get violated because TikTok is very transphobic and homophobic.
Mm-hmm.
Lately, they've been really good. I've been mass reported as usual, and a lot of the videos that they reported were
Mm-hmm.
put back up, and the violations were taken away. There's a
Mm-hmm.
couple of videos that were taken down that definitely did not violate the community guidelines, so I put them back up, but I put for educational purposes only,
Mm-hmm.
and they were able to stay up. Um,
What were those videos? I remember seeing some of your videos with like for educational purpose only. What was the content of those videos? I don't remember the exact content.
to educate those without a brain.
Okay. I don't remember exactly what you said in those videos. You have so many videos, I can't just memorize all of them.
Yeah,
So, yeah. But yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of negativity on TikTok, and I honestly believe that if people got off of TikTok, they would realize that society is not as effed up as they think it is. Because I remember before I got on TikTok, my life seemed perfect. There were no issues. I never had any issues with anyone except for a very small handful of people, and I addressed them individually. And but when I got on TikTok, it seemed like the world was ending. Like there's so much hate. I was just like, I gotta stop this. So, but yeah, great question. So now on to sports. Do you think that trans? No one always makes the argument that trans men can't compete in sports, but the argument always is that trans women should not compete in women's sports. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's just uh, a bullshit topic that people are using to help fearmonger the the whole trans monsters, trans predators, um, you know, ideology from the conservatives and the far right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's been numerous cases where cisgender girls wrestling against cisgender boys, and they're kicking the shit out of these boys. They're winning. There's
Mm-hmm.
been cases of trans boys, trans men playing in male sports that are just kicking butt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what people don't realize is when we take hormones, we don't gain muscle, we lose muscle.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a hard time quite a few times opening up a jar of pasta sauce.
Mm-hmm.
To whereas before transition, I could just pop that open really easily. Um, I do believe that we should be allowed to participate in sports. Um, Again, it's just a fear mongering thing from the conservatives and the far right. That's all it is. There's plenty of cases where trans women are not dominating anything. They're just wanting to compete. They don't really care about winning. They don't really care about getting a gold medal. They just want to compete. They want to be a part of a team.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Just like we just want to go to the bathroom. That has
Mm-hmm.
stalls, by the way. I want to remind everybody women's bathrooms don't have urinals, they have stalls with doors.
I'm curious, did you ever do sports growing up at all? Did you,
Yes, I
when you
did.
started transitioning, did you do sports continuing through that?
No, it was way before I started transitioning. I did do sports. I wrestled. I played football. I was a manager of basketball team. I did track, where I did discus, shot put, javelin, and
Hmm.
I forget what else I did. But I lettered in those sports, and what did the same thing in high school. But no, I'd never. It was way before transition, way before I even knew, because again, the internet was just coming out.
Yeah, gets me on a whole other topic about things, but um, about sports for me, sports have always been like a central part of my life. I've always used it, sports a lot for like a stress relief, for instance. I grew up as a runner. My family was a runner family, and I was actually the first one in my family to go and do like a different sport that wasn't even remotely close to running. I ended up going into swimming back in high school. And then as an adult, I joined a master's swim team, actually in Alexandria, Virginia, and I actually transitioned while on that swim team. So that was a very unique experience, and boy, was I very self-conscious about my body. But I just love the sport so much. But the whole time that I was going through this, like I used to compete like crazy. I used to do butterfly. I was obsessed. I would constantly have like people like, hey, like take a video of me, and then I'd watch it like slow motion, like frame by frame by frame by frame, uh, just to try to get like the perfection out of it, for instance. Um, but during the transition, I had this whole thing. I never actually competed in women's sports until like last year. So there was a humongous amount of years that I did not actually compete in women's sports as a trans person. But when I was actually transitioning on the swim team, I was going through like this process of like, is it unfair? Like, do I have an advantage? Because I was just like, I didn't want to like go into something and like win and make people. I was scared to death that people were going to say like, "Hey, you only did it because you're like biologically male," for instance. And and honestly, whenever I took hormones, I didn't actually slow down like much at all. The same people I was swimming with, I was still just keeping up pace with them like again and again and again and again. So I don't know what that comes down to. I wonder if people should look at like trans people in sports, if they should look at certain sports, because I know like in certain sports, biological men will actually have a disadvantage, like gymnastics, for instance. Imagine a biological, the smaller you are in gymnastics, the better you can rotate, right? Especially when you're doing women's gymnastics. So I feel like a biological man in that one, for instance, would be a bad one. Um, but when it comes to like scholarships and like let's say like Olympic medals, which honestly I think there's only been like a handful of those, and then people going after records, that's when I kind of like I'm not so sure, and I lean more towards the camp of like trans women should not be in those groups. But from another perspective, I think that a complete ban on trans women in sports is a completely horrible idea because, like you mentioned, and like a point that I like to make is that a lot of trans people use that as a way to get rid of stress, they use it to stay in shape, and they use it for like a social aspect. And I feel like a lot of people don't consider this. But if you're talking about just completely talking about like scholarships and medals and like world records or records in general, I think that a trans woman should probably not go after those. So, would you agree with that, or would you
Yeah,
disagree with it?
yeah, I can agree with the vast majority of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't agree with all of it then, because that's your statement says you don't agree with all of it. What part do you not want to go over, or do you not actually want to?
Well, I agree that a
Mhm,
total ban on all trans sports would not be good, because
mhm,
it's a way for us to de-stress, and also be affirmed, as a woman, to be a part of the team, and to have other fellow women teammates say, hey girl,
mhm,
good job, good game, hey, that was a good shot you did,
mhm.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
um But I totally disagree that um, there should be a ban on anything. Just let us play. That's all we want. Just let us play and participate. Enjoy the game.
Enjoy
Don't
the
focus
game.
on one player that happens to be different than all the others. Just focus on the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think. Let me see if I have anything else in my notes. Let me see. There's some things I don't want to go over. Oh yeah, I saw that you had a GoFundMe page.
Yes.
I have two questions.
Uh-huh.
One, why is it in a different name? And two, why $275,000?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question. The reason why I put it in my dead name is because
Mm-hmm.
that's how it's going to have to go into my account,
Mm-hmm.
is through my dead name. And why the amount? Because if we were to get that full amount or more,
Mm-hmm.
it would go towards paying off this house that we have here, and the equity that I have here would then go into the funds that were given to me through the GoFundMe, so we could move to New Mexico. I was looking at properties out there, and like the property I have here is small compared to what I could have in New Mexico
Mm-hmm.
for the same price, if not lower.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we've decided on New Mexico to go to because it's a trans friendly state. And yeah, that's why I put up the GoFundMe, because, I'm sick and tired of living in a state that wants to dehumanize me and take my rights away and try and tell me where I can and can't take a piss.
I still can't wrap my head around someone having to justify going somewhere. I've never had to tell someone I am gonna go here and you can't stop. It's for me, it's just mind-boggling that that you have to do that, or you feel like you have to go on TikTok and say that. Like I don't. For me, I
Well, I
just don't
mean,
understand it.
you'd have to put yourself in my situation. I'm a
Mhm.
homeowner. I'm
Mhm.
stuck here paying a mortgage, and I'm not going to continue to pay taxes to a city or
Mhm.
state that is just using my money to put Bibles in schools and take away, our rights.
Mhm.
I'd rather pay my taxes somewhere else that will protect us.
Mhm.
Also, the other reason why I made it 250,000 or 275,000 um, was because I also want to make sure that I've got enough room for other trans refugees that need a place to stay and get on their feet, and so that way they can get their own place and move on.
Okay. And if they need this help, how do they contact you?
Well, I mean, hypothetically, if I got
Mhm.
this money, they could just reach out to me on TikTok here, or um, let's see, Discord, which is all small letters, Tara underscore the underscore cutie, CUTIE.
Okay.
They could reach out to me there and, let me know what their situation is, where they're at, whatnot.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then depending on how many bedrooms I have available, you know, that sort of thing.
Um, Actually, there was one more thing. Where'd it go? I undug something about a post. You said that you had some fallout or something with your, I think it's your sister. Where are you? Allison White.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some posts about that. Like, is this all like made up?
The vast
Talking about
majority.
like you're talking about your ex or something like that.
Oh, no, 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 no. That's all made up bullshit. I
Made.
never assaulted my exes, none of my
Mm-mm,
exes at all. If
mm-hmm,
anything, I've been assaulted by two of my exes almost ran over by a car as I was drugged down the street. Um, and I've never assaulted any of my exes.
Mm-hmm.
What that I'm going to choose my words carefully.
Please do.
What that failed nurse, wannabe nurse,
Mm-hmm.
has to say is just diarrhea and vitriol. It's just trying to make me look bad because she's so pathetic in her life that she has lived with my mother forever. I
Mm-hmm.
have been on my own since 17, 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I am a proud person. I can hold my head up high because I don't live with mommy and I don't abuse my mom the way she does.
And by abused, you mean like verbally, emotionally, or physically,
Oh,
or all the
verbally,
above? Okay.
verbally and
Verbally.
emotionally, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So, have you ever someone in chat said, "Did you call 911 on them?"
Well, I would have to witness it, and of course my
Mm-hmm.
mother would have to go along with it, which she
Mm-hmm.
won't.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think a 911 call is gonna work out.
Let me put it this way: if any of y'all have seen What's Eating Gilbert Grape,
What's
the
what?
mom in that's my sister.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not familiar with that one. I didn't hear the whole thing. What's the name one more time?
What's
What's
eating
Eating
Gilbert?
Gilbert Grape?
Okay, one at a time.
What's eating Gilbert Grape? And the mother in that is morbidly obese, and so she cannot leave the house.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Gotcha. All right. So, alrighty, I think we covered most of the things I have on here. Some of them I'm not going to go over. Should we do a rapid fire chat questions? If anyone's still here, any other questions? Is there anything else you wanted to say, Tara? Anything questions you have for me about anything? I don't know if you looked up my life, whatever. I'm an open book about stuff too. But
No, I mean the only thing I have to say is that the restrooms say men and women, not um, females and males. So keep that in mind.
mhm,
And if you're uncomfortable having a trans woman in the same bathroom with you, you can either wait outside or um, you can walk out on your own 2 feet.
mhm.
And the women's bathrooms have stalls, so we have our privacy to do our business. Um, yeah, just keep that in mind. I mean, whenever you're fear mongering over a bathroom issue.
Mhm. One thing I find interesting, and what usually gets people shuts some people down, is I got this from a meme from back when I think it was North Carolina was doing like their bathroom ban back. I think it was like 2014 or 15 or 16, whatever. I'm not sure if you remember that phase. There were these memes where like you have like this trans woman and it's like, I get to go into the men's bathroom. Wow, all these men. Hey, that's a cool thing over there. And sometimes I will find these people who are like I know our community likes to call people transphobic and TERFs all the time, for like some of the smallest, minute things. But I had one person on my channel that was actually what would be actually a TERF, was one of those extremists, absolutists, 100% no trans women, no matter what, should be in the women's restroom, and saying that because you're biologically male, you need to stay out. And then I just like, oh, I guess I could go into the men's room and try to steal your husband because like they'll deny us in public, but then be in our DMs later.
Yep.
So yeah, so but obviously I can't tell you what to do. Well, I can try to tell you what to do, but I know like you don't have to listen to me. But my opinion is that if you would stop making those videos and stop being aggressive and trying to tell like no more threats, because a lot of those videos come off as very threatening. I feel like people would have a better outlook of you. I honestly like right now, like I've gone online and you're all over the news agencies all over the world for your videos. It became like the thing to pit against the community to make us look bad. So I think that's a really bad way to go about things, and I hope you tone it down quite a few notches and find other ways to advocate for protecting the trans brothers and sisters. I'm going to stand by like violence is not the answer no matter what. So and V, do it, Cassie. Do what? Sorry, there's a little delay, so I don't understand what you're saying. But there's someone in chat. This is Tara. I hope you continue to be you. And it says maybe like Cassie said, no more threats. And then I don't know how to pronounce your first name, V. I'm sorry. It says do it, Cassie. And I'm still waiting to see what she's referring to. Do what? Please tell me. But anyway, while we wait for that last answer, I do thank you for agreeing to come up here. When honestly, when I messaged you on TikTok, I was like, this is going to be it, because I'm a nobody online. I'm new to this. So I was like, yeah, this person's never going to respond. And then 10 minutes later, boop. So I was very pleasantly surprised. So I do thank you for coming. So
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
I know you're putting yourself out there. So
yeah,
you don't know what you're walking into.
I don't mind doing interviews, just as long as they're in good faith. And as you've noticed, you haven't really had to use your moderator, like I said.
No. I've seen some videos of some debates. One infamous one is with Blair White and Jessica Nee, where things got really heated and they probably could have used a moderator. If you're familiar with that one, but yeah. But yeah, you're right. We did not need a moderator. So I'm just so used to having debates where people just like they have to be right and they will just like talk over people. And I'm usually the kind of person I'll just like sit back and wait. Like, are you done yet? So yeah. Before we go, do you have any last words? Anything?
Nope.
Let's wrap it up here. Alrighty. So Tara and Becky, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And everyone in the chat, I thank y'all so much for watching. And I hope if you haven't done so already, please like this live stream. It's actually my very first live stream on this channel. And I would really hope that you would subscribe if you have not done so. I know if you're in the chat, you've subscribed because I made it mandatory. But if you are just watching and not chatting, I would really love you forever if you could actually subscribe. I thank you. And we're going to end it here. And I love you. Goodbye.
Yep. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.